Today we are going to start with the next topic of cost of capital, which is cost of preference shares. Till now we have done cost of debentures, so that means the first part we have already covered, how we are going to calculate cost of debentures. Whatever we have learned in cost of debentures, same will go with cost of debt and cost of loan. So today we are going to do the cost of preference shares. So preference shares is a special type of shares where dividends are paid to the shareholders before the issuance of common stock dividends. That means we have also learned that we have two types of shares. One is known as preference shares, or we can even name it as preference stock, and another is equity shares, which is also named as equity stock. Preference shares also holds the coupon rate. That means whenever we are issuing, that means whenever the company is issuing the preference shares, the company is going to pay the fixed rate of dividend to the preference shareholders. And they will be given the preference, that means whenever the company is going to distribute the dividend, preference shareholders will get the dividend before the dividend is being distributed to the equity shareholders. So that means preference shareholders will get the fixed rate of dividend, and whatever the rate of dividend, which is also known as coupon rate, which will be calculated on the face value. So do remember, as when we were doing the debentures or bonds or your loan, whatever the rate of interest is there, that was also given on the face value. Similarly, whatever the dividend is paid on the preference shares, that is also paid on the face value. It will never be paid on the value at which the preference shares are issued, whether the preference shares are issued at discount or whether it's issued at premium. So dividend is always paid on the face value. So whenever you have to calculate dividend, you always have to calculate it on the face value. Now preference shares are again of two types. One is redeemable preference shares and one is irredeemable preference shares. So whenever we will be talking about the preference shares, we have to keep the following things in our mind. The first is fixed interest rate, or we can also name it as fixed dividend rate. Second will be net proceeds from the issue. Net proceeds from the issue means whenever the company is issuing the preference shares, what amount the company is getting. If the company is issuing the preference shares at premium, so it will be face value plus premium. And if the company is issuing preference shares at discount, it will be face value minus discount. But here the story is not ending. Whenever the company is issuing the preference shares, some cost is being incurred. Maybe the cost is of advertisement, maybe the cost is for subscription for the stock market, or maybe any other cost which we name it as a floating cost, or maybe the cost of the commission paid to the brokers. So that is known as floating cost. So whatever amount we are getting while issuing the preference shares, we have to subtract the floating cost from that so that we can arrive at the net proceeds from the issue. Net proceeds, in other words, I can say whatever the amount I am getting. So whatever inflow is there while issue of preference shares minus whatever the outflow. Outflow will be in the form of your discount. You can say discount is your outflow. You can say your floating cost is your outflow. And your inflow will be face value plus premium, or face value minus discount will be your inflow. We should always be aware of date of maturity if your preference shares are issued at redeemable. That means preference shares are of redeemable category, then the date of maturity will be given. And if at the time of maturity preference shares are redeemed at the premium, so that premium amount you should also be aware of. So now first of all, let's talk about irredeemable preference shares. And irredeemable preference shares is a perpetual in nature. So now what do you mean by word perpetual? We have already discussed that the word perpetual means that the life is never ending. That means every year outflow, if I thought about the company, let's say if I am a company, if I am thinking about the company's point of view, there will be the outflow every year, and company is not aware till when the company is going to pay the dividend. So that's why it's named as irredeemable, means perpetual in nature. The borrower need not pay it to the lender, repay it to the lender. That means if the company has borrowed the money from the preference shareholders, company will never repay back the money. But yes, company is going to pay the dividend on those preference shares throughout its life. However, dividend payments are regular. Every year, company is going to pay the dividend on the irredeemable preference shares. Now, if we talk about the number line, see over here, right now we are standing over here. You have purchased the preference shares right now, or I can say that company has issued the preference share at 0 time period, and every year company is going to pay the dividend, and company is not aware of till when the company is going to pay the dividend, but no maturity period will be here. So I can say that 0 will be the amount borrowed. Company is borrowing the money, and all these are the dividend paid till infinity. So if we see this form, this is your perpetuity. So that's why it is named as an irredeemable preference shares is a perpetual in nature. Now, if you remember, whenever we have done the perpetuity, this is the form. Right now, we are going to invest the money, let's say in bank or anywhere else, and from the next year, this will be future value 1, this will be future value 2, and this will be your future value infinity. That means till our lifetime, we are going to get the money. So the same scenario is there with the irredeemable preference shares. So, and if we are talking about this thing, we have already done the formula for present value of annuity perpetuity. This is not annuity, this is present value of perpetuity will be 0, PVA 0 is equals to FV1 upon R. Now what we are going to do, instead of PVA, we are going to write NI. NI means net inflow. And instead of FV, we are going to say dividend, because in the future company is going to pay the dividend. And KP means cost of preference shares. So whenever we are going to calculate NI, NI will be face value plus premium. Either the company is going to issue at face value, or company is going to issue at premium. If it is issuing at premium, so face value plus premium. Or if company is issuing a discount, face value minus discount. And in both the cases, you have to subtract the floating cost from that. And D means dividend, that is to be paid every year, and that is fixed. So if we are talking about irredeemable preference shares, so this is our formula, that is we have to do it like this. But you have to remember N1 will always stand at 0 and D will always be 1. So whenever the company is issuing the preference shares, immediately from the next year, company is going to pay the dividend. And KP is your cost of preference shares. Now, redeemable preference shares. Redeemable preference shares are a type of preference shares that can be brought back by the company. That means whenever the company, whatever the issuing company is there, company is purchasing back their shares. So that means company is redeeming, company is paying back the money to the investors. And whenever the company is going to brought back or company is going to repurchase, that will be decided after a predetermined date. Or you can say on specific event. So that means time period is known when the company is going to purchase their shares back. Now if we talk about the number line, company is issuing the preference shares at this time, at 0 time period. And every year company is going to pay the dividend. And at the end of stipulated period of time, suppose it's 15 years, company is going to pay back the maturity value also. Company is going to purchase it, so company is going to pay it. If the investor has purchased the redeemable preference shares, company is going to pay the redeemable value. So 0 will be your amount borrowed, and this will be the complete part will be your dividend, will be paid till 15 years, and at the end of 15 years, company is going to pay back the money also. So that means in this time period is known. And even you can see that the time interval between two cash flows is equal. Over here is 1 year, over here is again 1 year, again 1 year. So that means it is following all the features of annuity. There is a regular cash flow, time period is known. So since these two features are there, we can name it as an annuity. And if we talk about the annuity part, these redeemable preference shares, whenever we are talking about annuity part, these redeemable preference shares are further divided in two parts. That means whenever the company is redeeming, company is paying the whole amount in lump sum in one shot, or even the company can repay back the money in installment also. Some part is given at the end of first year, some part is given at the end of second year or third year or fourth year, or maybe company is paying in 2 installment, 3 installment, 5 installment depending on the scenario. So if the company is repaying at the one shot, we name it as a lump sum. And if the company is paying in installment, we name it as an installment. So let's first discuss that when the redeemable preference shares are redeemed in lump sum. So whenever the company is redeeming in lump sum, we have already discussed that your redeemable preference shares time period is known and there will be the future cash flow. So that's why first of all I have written the equation of annuity. This is present value of annuity at current time period, and this will be your FV1, FV2, FV3 and FVN. So time period is known. Now what we are going to do? Instead of FV, we are going to write D, dividend paid. So dividend paid at the end of first year, dividend paid at the end of second year, and dividend paid at the end of nth time period, and maturity value at the end of nth time period. Because it's given that in lump sum. So in one shot we are going to pay it. So that's why it's maturity value at one shot only. At the end of the time period we are paying back. And in today's state we are going to calculate the value of share in today's state. So value of share means your net inflow. So what this KP we have to calculate. This is my cost of preference shares. Now whenever we talk about redeemable preference shares in lump sum, there are two methods of solving it. One is your present value method and one is your approximation method. Now, if we talk about approximation method, we have already discussed this approximation method when we were discussing about cost of debentures. The formula for approximation method is cost of preference shares will be dividend paid plus RV minus SV upon N divided by RV plus SV whole divided by 2. Now where your dividend paid means annual dividend paid that the company is paying annually. RV will be your redeemable value per preference shares. If company is redeeming at a premium, it will be face value plus premium amount, or the company will be redeeming at face value. But you have to remember, company will never redeem the preference shares on discount. Your N will be number of years of maturity till when, that means after how many years the company is going to repay back the money. And SV means your sale value, that means issue price per preference shares. If the share price are issues at the premium, so it will be face value plus premium minus floating cost. And if the share price are issued at a discount, it will be face value minus discount minus floating cost. Now if we talk about present value method, what we have to do in the present value method, we have to convert all the future cash flows into the present. And if we are going to convert it, it will become like this. That means summation of x1 till n plus redeemable value upon 1 plus kp raised to power n. This will be the equation that we are going to form it whenever we are doing the present value part. So that means nothing but just a simple annuity part. Now where your D will be your dividend paid, kp is again your cost of preference shares, Rn will be redeemable value at the time of maturity, N will be your number of years to maturity. So that's all what we have learned in the cost of preference shares. For further reference, you can refer my book. Thank you.